What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On. You're listening to Mandalorian, the most official, unofficial companion series for Mandalorian on Disney+. Today, we break down the episode from the plot, key characters, and give our takeaways from the mythos and the narrative aspect. And our episode we're covering today is Chapter 9, The Marshal. I just also want to make a quick footnote. I should have wrote down the Emmy award-winning series, The Mandalorian.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So we're jumping back in. Everyone, we're back. Season 2.
Back in time.
And we're starting the season 2, episode 1 off. Let's introduce the host. My name is Tom.
I'm
Ollie.
Corey. Haha. Beat ya.
And I'm joined by Ollie and Corey. And this episode is brought to you in part by the wonderful people of the Nerd On Nation, brought to you in part by Patreon, which everyone could join. You listen to never before episodes such as the Nerd On Minute, the Nerd On Extra, and we talk about things like what scared us the most when we were kids, our favorite costumes. That was just typically the Halloween stuff. But sometimes we talk about our experience with video games and how it formed of who we are today. And we also have a really funny catchphrase at the beginning of it. But also you get early access to episodes like our topical update episodes and our ones where we cover things that go on in the pop culture world. The main show.
Yeah.
Also, you get merch. Also, you get specific Discord channels for you. And also, that being said, join our Discord at nerdon.tv/Discord, which is free. But if you want to see all that stuff that we talked about, join the Nerd On Nation by nerdon.tv/Patreon. And this episode couldn't be created without the wonderful people of Apogee and Odyssey. Apogee are the microphones that we're recording on today. We're specifically the hype mic, the ultimate podcasting microphone. It's wonderful. Corey has used it on multiple occasions when he's out of town. I've used it on multiple occasions where I'm streaming. You can use it for anything. Ollie, what's some things you use the hype mic for?
I mainly use it for everything that we do. I use it for my videos, for Future Foe, Destiny content.
Nice. So every need that you could possibly imagine, this small, I would say, 3-inch tall microphone is really great and handy to use. But also our headphones that we're recording, we're allowed to listen to each other over the internet. Odyssey headphones. These are the LCD ones, and these are amazing. I always say open-ended, but they're actually open back headphones, which Ollie, and Corey has his, if your ears were mouths, they taste like butter. But I always go back to Ollie's point that specifically headphones are something that you should get comfortable wearing, especially during this time where you have to be listening to your co-hosts, also whoever you're talking to on Zoom. It sucks if your headphones aren't comfortable, but it also helps out that they're great quality too. So I stick to that. Like if your ears were Ollie, they'd be very comfortable. So that is all of the housekeeping. Now let's get on with the rest of the show, where we will first off do a little breakdown of the episode, try to be spoiler free, and then do some production, and then we'll get into our favorite parts.
Yeah.
So for the breakdown, Ollie, do you want to give us a small, short, spoiler free what happens in the episode?
Yeah. Well, essentially, we join back up with our favorite Mando and his new companion at the end of season 1. He is now quested, which is one of my favorite lines in this episode, with delivering the young one to the Jedi. And he is now back in Tatooine following a lead of where, he's more directly, he's looking for his people right now. And
no spoilers.
He gets a lead and investigates the lead on a planet that we've visited last season. And I was very thrilled to visit again.
Yeah.
This
Episodic
season,
ally ships ensue.
Yeah.
And
Star Wars happens.
He brings a party to everyone, an explosion.
Yeah.
So
Production.
Yes, production, please.
Brought to you by Disney Plus, who have a wide variety of shows such as WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the Obi-Wan series.
All the shows that you have not seen.
Yeah, all shows you have not seen but heard of.
They're listening to this 10 years from now. Don't worry.
I'm telling you this right now. When I wrote this, like I looked up Disney Plus and there was no shows because it was all under quote unquote Disney media distribution, which is like, and they include Fox. I was like, Guys, help me out. I'm trying to write notes for you guys. You can't just put all the shows that have not shown up yet.
That's written for the shareholders, not for you.
So that was the studio. The showrunners, Jon Favreau, who you know from Revolution, Dinner for Five, and About a Boy. Dave Filoni, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance. Writers, Jon Favreau, known for Chef. Swingers, Couples Retreat. Dave Filoni, same as what I said before. Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance. And I had trouble with his name last time, but it's Rick Famuyiwa?
Famuyiwa.
Dope, Brown Sugar, and Talk to Me. Cast, Pedro Pascal, Game of Thrones, Wonder Woman 84, Triple Frontier. Also, if you watch him in interviews, just the most endearing dude, by the way. There was this interview with him and Oscar Isaac, and I want to be his friend so bad.
You know how we recently on our topical show, we had Jennifer Hale, and we talked about Princess Bride, and then we talked about how there is potentially rumor that they might remake it. Would not
Which they
be mad,
but
Pedro Pascal was Inigo Montoya.
yeah, I wouldn't be mad about that at all.
I would want him to reprise his role.
The rest of the cast is Carl Weathers, known for Rocky, which is Tom showed me finally is a fantastic movie. Happy Gilmore, Swing. Oh, it's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. And Predator. Gina Carano, Haywire, Fast and the Furious 6, and Deadpool. Giancarlo Esposito, The Boys, Breaking Bad, Maze Runner, Scorch Trials. Is that like the third one?
I don't know.
Does he always just show up as the bad guy at the end of things?
I don't know, man. I could have put in some Spike Lee films.
And Sasha Banks from WWE Royalty. Who is WWE Royalty?
She is. I looked her up on
I'll have
IMDb.
to call it Barry and Steve's for this one.
Yeah.
Ask them who Sasha Banks is. And this episode specific, the appearances by? Or is this just throughout the whole show?
Well, I'm going to put it in for later on for other episodes. I'll put everyone in there, but this is specifically for this episode.
Okay, so we have Timothy Olyphant, Tamara Morrison, Amy Sedaris, and David Cho. Release date was October 30th, 2020. There's going to be 8 episodes in season 2, which is what we're on now. Runtime is anywhere from 31 to 46 minutes, with this one being, 50?
54 minutes.
I think. Yeah, for the season premiere. Budget, $100 million. Rotten Tomatoes score, 88 critics from 6 users, 92 audience from 186 users.
And that
So
is
there we
for
are.
season 2 specifically.
Yes.
From production, I wanted to point out something really interesting. Last season, we had a plethora of directors and writers. This season, though, with the exception of like a couple, it's all written by Jon Favreau. I think Dave Filoni writes and directs episode 5 or chapter 12. But aside from that, and Rick, it's gonna be all Jon Favreau. So I'm interested to see like what the story ends up being, why they decided to go maybe a more focused plot. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see,
We'll see.
as we watch these lovely episodes.
I also want to give a shout out to an appearance by John Leguizamo.
Yes.
I did not realize that was him until I read the credits, and I was like, "Wait, where?"
He was the first guy at the ring, right?
The
Yeah.
Cyclops.
Okay. So now we can go into spoilers.
Yes.
Now, spoiler. Well, I mean, do we want
there's
to
a
do initial reactions without spoilers?
Yeah.
I'll try. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll do initial reactions without spoilers.
Give me like 5 seconds.
Okay, let me start. If you don't
Okay.
mind. Okay. I was, for one, if you haven't listened to the season 1 of Mandalorian, I was probably the biggest critic of the show because I was watching The Watchmen at the same time. And you know what? You shouldn't watch anything next to The Watchmen because it'll just destroy it.
It happened to me. What was I watching alongside? I had to
Neon
stop.
Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah.
That's what you're watching. So I'll say this to that extent. I didn't have to watch, Watchmen this time. So I got to watch it and I was like, but I still had like my laser focused like critique eye on this. That being said, I feel like this was a better pilot or better season 1 opener than season 1 was.
Yes.
I felt a little bit more like I liked Darren's character, Mando's character, much more than the first one. The first one, there is the rule of cool, which happens, which I'm like all about. But this one, like, I actually cared because there was someone else that he was able to bounce off of that had just as much character.
Yeah.
That being said, there were some things that I wanted to take away that I'll talk about later in the show. But I was overall, I enjoyed the episode, and I am looking forward to see where it goes from here because they did do what typical pilots do. They threw a lot of information there, enough for you to pick up things like, okay, these are the strands that they're gonna, connect over throughout the rest of the season. Yeah. So that's it. That's me. Who's next?
For me, I'll say that I agree with that. This premiere, I was glued to the TV the entire time. And I get that a lot of that has to do with exposition being gone, right? I already know who this is, what his mission is, what he's about, that kind of stuff. I think that's your point, Tom, of the rule of cool is been used. We get it. We know who he is. Now he can have flaws. He can be a little more personal.
Now he can actually be a character.
Yeah. We've seen his face, and he had technically in that episode he had mild brain damage, like a concussion, and IG-88 puts the bantha spray on him and says your central circuit has been damaged. He goes, "You mean my brain?" He goes, "Yeah, it was a joke." So I enjoyed this for a couple reasons. That was one of them. But the guest appearance in this show, both guest appearances in this show, made my heart aflutter. This isn't too much of a spoiler because we already mentioned his name in the production, but I'm a big Timothy Olyphant fan. I think he
Justified.
I think he just has a certain je ne sais quoi to him that makes you want to watch him, whether he's good or bad or whatever it may be.
I felt like he had a je ne sais LaCroix to me, but you know.
Yeah. And there was some bigger lore within this episode that was definitely for fans of the extended universe.
I think I know what you're talking about.
That made me giggle with glee.
Yeah.
Like
specifically for you too.
Specifically, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
So you know what I'm.
I know
referring
exactly.
To.
What you're talking
Specifically
about,
to me, made me very, very happy. And it built upon other existing lore that isn't very specific to me. That is a little more generalized to anyone who's seen Star Wars, and I'll get into that a little bit as well. But I thoroughly enjoyed. I think I ended up watching this 2.5 because I watched it twice and then I like skimmed to see certain parts over again. 2.5 times. So all in all, I loved it.
Ollie?
Yeah. I think I agree with you, Tom, as far as it being a better first episode for the season. I kind of wish the first episode of season 1 or the pilot was like longer or maybe had a deeper plot. But yeah, that's the whole benefit of like us now having been done with that. Now we get to live in this world that we've created with the Mandalorian.
Call it the Empire Strikes Back syndrome for a reason.
Exactly. And, you know, it's a hot topic right now just because of the films, but there's a discussion of like fan service and all this stuff of like, oh, like you're just pulling things back. And I've seen that rumblings, and it's like, they need to just move on or whatever. And to me, I kind of reject some of that notion. I think there's a point where fan service just becomes a really well-made lived-in world. And now your characters can also enjoy those things. Like there is
I can't wait till we get to to spoilers so I know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah. But
I think I know
a roundabout way of saying that, like, I really enjoyed this and I really enjoyed living in the Star Wars world in this episode. And there's a couple episodes that made me feel that way in the first season. And I'm really happy that this kicked it off right away with the good feels. So really enjoyed the episode and I'm excited for the season.
All right.
So there's our initial reaction.
Spoilerful galaxy.
Spoiler country.
Far, far away. All right. So what the fuck are you talking about by fan service?
Well, just things like pulling like sand dragons, and I mean the big topic of Boba Fett being alive and all this.
That to me is not fan service.
I agree. I agree with you and disagree with them.
Well, no, whoever's saying fan service doesn't know what fan service is. I'm going to give a specific thing that's fan service, and people can like it and people could not want it, but you can't deny.
There's deep cuts.
Well,
and that's the thing. It's like the franchise is in the hands of people who understand it right now.
Well, I wouldn't go that. I wouldn't even go that far.
Series.
I would just say like this
series.
I'll say
let me hear it. Tell me hear it.
This is something that I think Corey really liked about the last Star Wars film, and I'm going to say this hopefully without a spoiler, but someone gets a fucking medal for no goddamn reason is only fan service. There's nothing in the story that says that character wanted it.
And I'm fine to admit, I think I admitted that on the, I was like, 100%.
Yeah.
But the thing is like this, like if you like it and you know it's fan service, like there it is. But don't try to say like, oh, that's because this is the perfect arc for the character. Like shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Like
don't try to give it a
So
thing,
now spoiler of the episode with Boba Fett showing up at the very end, it's not fan service because one, it serves a story because what is Mando looking for? Other Mandalorians on Tatooine. So like it makes sense. So you could, if you write it in the right way, where it's like, you know, like if Chewbacca had to go, if someone who didn't get a medal had to go back to their clan and they're like, you have to show us some sense of like, you know, you wore medal, then it's like, okay, cool.
If this character ends up playing out in the season the way I kind of hope he does, in the sense of being like that Obi-Wan figure. Like, I think it's like the most obvious, like weirdly obvious and weirdly like genius way of reusing the character, I think.
I feel like, so Corey gave me a lot of information last season of Mandalorian of like, Boba Fett isn't really a true Mandalorian. And the fact that like, I would like to see like old school bastardization Mandalorians versus the new school way of the Mandalore with Mando. In that sense, to me, I feel like maybe there is a sense of, is it mentorship or is there the mentorship till it becomes like, let's say season whatever of Dexter with Jimmy Smits of like, here's a friendship to like, now we have
right?
to.
Is he sticking around? Is he just for the season?
So I think I hear a lot.
Let me answer that question. Is it just for the season? Because he's in season 1, y'all. He's in season 1.
Oh, he with the
right
with
the dead body.
Ming-Na Wen, yeah.
So here's the thing. That sound is very specifically tied to him in the Star Wars universe. I grew up watching the 1997 special editions of Star Wars, right? Not the originals, but when Lucas was like...
Is that the gold one? The gold box?
Yeah, where he added some of the CGI shit. One of the things he added, I believe it was I don't think it was there before, but in the 1997, which is now canon, he added the sounds of spurs walking when Boba Fett walks around. It's just like ching, ching, ching. And that... In season 1, the person who walks up to the body has that same exact sound, and he still has that sound now when he walks towards the camera in season 2.
What's funny is that there's people on the internet who are starting to guess like maybe it's another clone. And I'm like, why would it be a clone and not Boba Fett?
Universe that is no longer canon technically in the books. He actually escapes the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, twice,
and lives on Tatooine. Yeah, and the fact that their way they're doing it this way is that the Sarlacc pit. I believe in the extended lore, was damaged by Boba Fett, Jabba the Hutt's ship crashing into it. It became damaged and couldn't sustain itself, and so the Krayt Dragon found it and finished it off.
And that's what we got.
And took its Sarlacc pit home.
So about the Krayt Dragon,
they're thinking it got damaged. Boba Fett got out, which is why he's still all kind of fucked up.
But I do want to ask Corey. So talking about Krayt Dragons. Tell me about KOTOR, Corey. Tell me about KOTOR.
So in KOTOR, Krayt Dragons are a big deal. The first time we've ever seen one in the Star Wars lore is in A New Hope. When 3PO and R2-D2 are in the desert, there's a Krayt Dragon skeleton, and what's considered a small one.
Which is a Dune actual like thing. I'm just gonna, I just gotta say, hey, the mother's milk is Dune. George Lucas says that he loved Dune. That's where it came from.
But the Krayt Dragons are huge in Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, Obi-Wan supposedly makes a Krayt Dragon sound to scare off the Tusken Raiders in A New Hope, but you don't get to see one until Knights of the Old Republic. And you even fish what's called a Krayt Dragon pearl out of its stomach once you kill it, which is what we got to see in the episode, which is really cool. He holds it up at the end, and I was like, oh my God. And I had forgotten about the pearl until that happened. And I was like, this is amazing. This is really, for those of you, and it works on such a cool level too, for people who aren't familiar with what it is. It's a really cool way. Obviously they're excited about something. Obviously it's the reason they said that the body and the Ichor is ours.
Also the thing too with Cobb Vanth character where he's saying like, I had enough money or enough whatever currency that they wanted that. So we knew that the Tusken Raiders wanted something shiny. And so when they get it, it's like, okay, obviously this is like a money thing too.
But if you know the lore, it's really exciting. And that's the kind of, I guess I wouldn't call it, that is a little bit of fan service in a sense, but it's not to the sense of like, let's give a medal to someone who...
Well, I mean, the thing is like, it's already established within the expanded universe. Yeah. And so at this point, you're just kind of paying homage to where it comes from instead of telling the audience like, hey, did you realize that? Because there's no sense of like, I heard a sorcerer said he did a Krayt Dragon sound one time. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? This like, so it's fine. Like, like if, someone has to cut open a fucking Wampa, whatever thingy to live in, it's like, that's fine. That's just, recreating that thing.
Yeah.
So it's not a fan service.
I mean, this one's huge. The Krayt Dragon in KOTOR is not this big. Mm-hmm. This is insane. So when they say it's a big one, they mean it's a big one. Because the one you fight in KOTOR is very large. It's like one of the largest models in the game, besides like the ships, obviously. But this thing was nuts. Getting to see a fully realized, I mean, because KOTOR was what, 20 years ago?
Yeah. So you saw potatoes moving, right?
Or it was like 15 years ago, something like that. So to see a fully realized, I mean, the CGI on that thing was fantastic. I can't say the same for the speeder bikes, but for I think all the money went to the Crate Dragon for a TV show.
Looked amazing.
So that was exciting to me. To see the pearl and to see them take it down was wonderful.
I couldn't fathom, well, I'll save it, but I couldn't fathom John Leguizamo's makeup.
I could.
I was like, what is it? At first I was like, I'm convinced this is a Disney animatronic.
Oh.
Like at first.
Because I think it's practical and the mouth is CG'd.
Mouth
It's
is
all
CG'd.
practical.
I think it's like
Mouth.
Simon Pegg's outfit.
If there's
in Force
any
Awakens.
CG on that character, I'm blown away. Like genuinely blown away. And I'm comparing that to films.
I mean, it has the same budget as a film.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was gonna say it's like Simon Pegg's character in Force Awakens. Where it's like it's a little like, holy shit, that's really good. But I mean that's also like the Guillermo del Toro territory of like Abe Sapien's like really fucking good looking. But that being said, there is a little bit of more expanded lore things that people I think should be aware of. And this wasn't something I found out, I just knew offhand. It's something I found out by looking more into the production of the episode.
Talking about Timothy Olyphant's character?
Timothy Olyphant's character, Cobb Vanth, comes from the expanded universe books. Aftermath, and pretty much that story he says of how he found Boba Fett's armor is exactly how it plays in the books, which I like to a big factor because one of my big bro in my fraternity, Sigma Phi Epsilon, the best fraternity in the world, he is a big Star Wars fan. Like he has the books. He fucking got me to like, what was the MMO RPG online game?
The Old Republic.
The Old Republic. He made me an account before I even like. He was like, "I'll just make you the account." And I was like, "Dude, sure." And he told me the very sad days when Disney bought Lucasfilms because it was like everything, all the books became non-canon. But
Lobaka.
This being shown with, kind of to Ollie's point that, the writing room is a lot smaller this year with this, they're taking stuff from the expanded universe, which seems like it's kind of making a little bit of a homage to those writers.
It's
like
a
saying,
great
hey, like
feeling.
We acknowledge
to see Boba Fett alive, like to see certain, Crate Dragons. Like it's a good feeling, honestly.
Yeah.
Also, that being said, I did read somewhere on the interwebs that they had actually hired ASL or non-speaking people for the Tusken Raiders so that they can help create the sign language that was developed in the show.
And
I thought that was pretty cool.
Building that culture, again, they do that in Knights of the Old Republic where they have their traditions and stuff like that. You actually go to a Tusken Raider camp at some point. But showing that they're not these like always brutal. I mean, they are raiders. And actually, if you know the lore, Tusken Raider in the extended universe, I don't know if it exists anymore. They might build into it. But a lot of people are like, oh, there's a lot of jokes that Sand People is the racist term. But in reality, they were called Sand People until they raided a camp called the Tusken Camp, which was an outpost, Tusken outpost. And then they started calling them Tusken Raiders. So the Tusken Raider is actually
is the race
super racist.
It's just like, yeah.
They were just people of the sand. But it was cool to see that, and that, cool to see obviously Mando communicating with them and kind of being that middleman between both of them. Really, neither of them wanted to work with each other.
I do also want to do a quick point out because it's something that hit me during the quarantine. I became a slight fan of David Cho. And if you guys don't know who that is, when Facebook, the company went live, like he had done a mural for their headquarters. And so when they became like, a $1 trillion company, his artwork became the most valuable artwork on the planet. And he became an overnight sensation. Like he had studied art and all that stuff beforehand, but his artwork from Facebook is what kind of blew him over the edge. So he started first was commissioning artwork for like $5,000 to now like $2,500 or $25,000. So it's like pretty big that
his work looks amazing.
He became huge. But the big thing is that he was on David Chang's podcast with Ryan Johnson. And they were talking about Star Wars and how David Cho was talking about how the most hurtful thing for a franchise that he loved the most was seeing separatists who had terrible Asian accents, seeing Rogue One having, a blind martial artist. So like the Asian exposure as well as representation has been terrible, quote unquote. That's what David Cho's been talking about. And so having him in this show playing some small bit part, he's one of the aliens at the ring during the fight. He looks like kind of like a Darth Maul where he's got horns coming out of his face. And that's David Cho. And I was like, that's interesting that he's in here. because hopefully he's, obviously trying to do something for culture because he doesn't do anything without, he's an artist, so he doesn't do anything without meaning. And I took that away. I was like, wow, pretty cool. So speaking, want to go down some favorite parts?
Yes, I do.
All right.
There are a few.
One of my favorite parts, real quick, I'm just gonna say, is the relationship between Cobb Vanth and Mando. That's a really interesting, like, I'm a real Mandalorian, you're not, give up the armor, and this kind of like uneasy alliance to like, hey, we have to like be like quote unquote the generals now, and we have to make sure this happens, and how they have each other's backs at the end. Really, it was like really kind of nice. I really hope Cobb Vanth comes back later in the series.
He's got to. And the fact that he was like understanding where he's like, his culture says he needs to kill me and take this armor back. So we worked out a deal.
Timothy Oliphant is like already like, all right, top 3 characters of the entire series for me.
100%. This is a little fun fact that I really enjoyed. Amy Sedaris' character, I forget her name, Pilo or something like that. There is a red droid that she calls over, and we had this little cameo in season 1. But that red droid is R5D4, most famous for episode 4, New Hope, for blowing his power converter and therefore forcing the Skywalkers to choose R2. In the expanded universe, you can even see the stain on the back of his head of where it blew his fuse. In the extended universe, he did it on purpose. Because he knew that R2D2 and C3PO needed to stay together.
Had a mission.
So when he got chosen, he purposefully blew his power converter. I think that was the part. Or maybe that's the thing that Luke needs to go get at the Tashi station.
Let him go get him.
He blows up a piece of his head on purpose to make sure that R2 and him stay together. So it's cool that they're very purposefully making this, it's him. Because he's got the same blown off part. And I thought that was really cool. And also the homage to Anakin's pod racer. Cobb's speeder is the same, if not the engine from Annie Kid's pod racer, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So those were just a few nods that I liked. I have some other favorite part. Oh, and the last nod was obviously the jetpack hit. It's a reference to Return of the Jedi. Obviously the same jetpack hits in the same spot, has the same reaction. Chef's kiss.
Perfect. My one of my favorite moments, and maybe it's in Clone Wars. I haven't seen most of Clone Wars, but I love the payoff of the missile and the targeting system. Like getting I was like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, it's a targeting system.
Do you know why he bends over? Do you know why that's a reference to? It's a reference to the toy. There was a toy that came out after, I think, Empire, where he had a plastic missile that shot out of his back. But in order to shoot it at the enemy toys that you had to bend him over and shoot it straight that way. And so they were like, well, it's never been shown, so let's just do it the way the toy did it. And if you notice his rocket that's in there afterwards is totally a like makeshift,
different
off-brand rocket.
Yeah,
which is
I was
really
like,
cool.
Awesome to see that finally used, and
the targeting system
and
coming
the thing
down,
replaced. And that whole thing.
I do like also that Cobb Vanth wearing the armor, like it doesn't fit him, like he's actually too big for it, and I'm like, that's very interesting.
Looks like a cosplayer, who was like,
that was the thing. I was like, that was the only part of that reveal where I was like, I already don't believe that that's Boba Fett though. Maybe it was the red shirt. I felt like it was like a weird puffy red shirt. I don't know.
It's like an Old West shirt.
I did like that build up before that moment where he's talking to the bartender, and it's just like, it's like, your marshal wears the same armor as me. He's like, why don't you go ask him yourself? And he shows up there just like very cowboy like, and I'm like, this is cool. I like this setup so far.
And of course, leave it to Timothy Oliphant to play a lawman in a Western themed show.
But the thing I really liked about it was that he was such this like, we just did what we could to survive, and we got out, and like
I dug it.
He was such
cool.
like
I was like, good enough.
There was never like a I'm too big for my britches kind of thing. It was just kind of like, let's go do the thing. Like, how about you help me do this thing? I need your help. Blah blah. Like it was so, and that's the thing where I really like, because you actually got to feel what Mando's character like actually was, and how like even when there was that moment of like a little scuffle between the sand people, I'm going to call sand people, and Cobb Vanth, like, Mando was just like, hey, cut it out. I'm going to tell them the same thing I'm going to tell you. If we keep attacking each other, the monster's just going to kill us both. And it's like, yeah, I like this. Like, actual character.
I did. You know what? I liked that line a lot. Specifically, I'm going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you now. I was like, oh,
it's good. And
it was so fun just to be there and like see them working with the Jawas and the Sand People and talk about like different outposts on Tatooine. I was like, we're living here now.
Yeah.
Like I really dig this. This is not just an iconic shot from the trilogy. I mean, has its own iconic shot now at the end of the episode.
But like, if you notice the character development within it too, is he shoots one of those drinks back later on, like without anything.
It's growth and development.
They hands it to him and he just shoots it back when they're looking at the crate dragon hole. Which, by the way, that acid spit, wow.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
Yeah. I thought it was
just
dope.
Melts them. Just skeletons and all. Gone.
From that moment, I got a, you mustn't read from the book kind of moment.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
I was like, good for Beskar armor.
Yeah, thank God for Beskar armor. I thought that whole sequence was fantastic. I thought from the crossbows with the strings, people getting like tossed in the air for trying to hold on to the strings, and
as far as like monster wrangling sequences can go in movies and film, like this is, I would say, one of the more exciting and fun to watch.
And really utilizing the fact that it can travel underground. Like suddenly it's at the top of the mountain and they're shooting it and it dives back down, disappears, appears behind them again out of the sand. Like it was, I was like,
it was laid out. The space with like their playground was like really well like thought out, and
I would have left.
It looked like they had fun writing.
This.
The set piece,
the set piece.
Moving along, favorite characters for the episode?
I mean, Cobb, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crate dragon.
Same. The crate dragon was pretty special.
The crate dragon was, guys, the crate dragon was so cool. I was giddy. I was just
actually really like the dogs.
The dogs,
cool design. The little puppers.
The lizard dogs.
They're little puppies.
Yeah.
They're little good boys.
I did like when Mando had that. He did the call, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. It for me felt a little D&D, where it's like, oh, he could also speak this language.
He speaks.
It was super D&D.
He speaks GIF,
and the dogs were
this whole
just
show
immediately
is
like,
super D&D.
Super sweet afterwards. Like, oh, you're one of us.
I love how he even like he even took like a big chunk of meat for himself, and I was like, oh yeah, go make some jerky or.
So Cobb Vanth is, obviously the hero of the episode.
He's fantastic. As cool as Mando is, we're gonna get to follow him forever. Cobb was just
John
effortlessly
Leguizamo's
cool.
The Cyclops, the John Leguizamo Cyclops character. I forgot the name of the character, but I would say he's my second favorite.
Oh, and Mando going, I promise you won't die by my hand.
Yeah.
And then shoots the light out, and you're like, what the fuck? I don't know what those are, by the way.
I thought they were Loth Wolves for a second, but Loth Wolves aren't evil like that. So I don't know.
Had red eyes at night, and I think they were the same
creature
during the day.
I haven't seen those.
Oh.
But they were, that was cool. Shooting the light out.
Yeah.
I also loved the I don't take chances either. And you see the what are they called? The birds? The missiles. They have the name. The
songbirds.
Oh, the whistling
songbirds.
Is
that what they're called?
I keep wanting calling it whistling birds. I don't know.
Whistling birds sounds
else.
right. Anyway, my point is that Yoda noticing it and immediately just being like, bye.
Just closing the door.
Shutting his container. And Mando kicking it out of the way. I loved all of that. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
What are they called, Tom?
I'm still looking.
Who's your favorite character, Ali?
Mine was same as yours, and John Leguizamo's.
Whistling birds.
Yeah, whistling
birds. There we go.
John Leguizamo is the honorable mention. All right, I dig it.
Yeah.
Qualms. Then, that moves us into qualms. I have one.
Okay.
And it's a tough one for me because I am someone who has watched a lot of like daytime westerns and serial spaghetti westerns, which obviously this is very based on. However, it still felt, I'm torn on that. It's a very small qualm for me because I understand this is part of the genre. If you've ever watched like Fistful of Dollars or Good, Bad, the Ugly, understand these shots happen all the time and it's to build tension. But I feel like there was a lot of shots of just like faces of people while things were happening, or a lot of shots of them riding across the desert that I could have cut in half. That felt like they were kind of trying to pad the episode a little bit.
Yeah.
However, again, I understand it's part of the genre was watching them ride horses across the Wild West. And like, if you've seen Tombstone, there's an entire 20-minute segment of them just riding horses and taking out bad guys.
Even better, I think Bone Tomahawk shows
Tomahawk, okay.
riding on horses and the actual like excruciating pain it is because one of them's legs broken. And they're also trying to retrieve like a wife who might be getting killed or raped. And you're like, oh my God, hurry up. But it's like, this is how long it takes. This is how long it takes to ride on horses.
So
in here,
it's
like,
one of those, like,
what does it serve the
half-qualms?
story?
Yeah, it's one of those half qualms to me where it was like, I get that they're showing it's far from the village, so this thing does travel quite a ways to come here and eat their banthas. But at the same time, I was like, I could have done with one of those famous Star Wars wipes and just shown them pulling into the. So that's it. That's really it for me. I couldn't find much else that I had a big issue with in this episode, at least.
Ollie, any qualms?
Aside from just the reveal of Boba Fett not being like believable even for a second, that was like the only thing where I was like, well,
The Marshal.
are you just doing the like hammy like reveal just to do it?
Oh, the
Or
very
is this,
end?
like meant to be? No.
Oh,
when you
Cobb.
first meet his character. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
So then
well,
you
yeah,
realize
it's
it's not
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
a subversion. It's like, that ain't no Mandalorian.
Yeah. But I was like, I immediately know that's not a man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was barely a qualm.
Oh, okay. I have two columns.
Aside from one thing I did was the quality of the podcast composition. Let's call
podcast?
it. The
speeder bike?
Pod racer speeder bike.
Speeder
What?
bikes. Yeah. The CG
Just the
was
decision to
rough.
maybe put him in a sidecar of the engine. I don't know. It just felt.
Oh,
it didn't look.
For me, some of the green screen was very like
Yeah.
obvious.
That's why I was like, like the shadow. I think it was just the shadows of him against the pod racer engine or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Something was a little less than great. Yeah.
For me, I thought the first fight scene was not great. I thought
In the ring.
in the with when when the whistling birds go off in the fight, I was like, this isn't that good.
I think really it's just like
there was no sense of comparison. There was just like, this doesn't seem believable at all. Like their punches have no weight behind it, and I could see it, and I was just like, well, I mean, the thing is also, what does it do for the story? Like, obviously, Mando's gonna win. He's gonna get the information. Here are the fucking losers who are gonna show up and just die. So it's like, it does its job, but I was just like, I feel like Nolan's
Actually, it's funny.
first action film would do better than this.
I have it playing in the background. Funny enough, it's at the scene where he's interrogating the Cyclops, and that's 7 minutes into the episode before we get.
Well, there's a good chunk of
So maybe
recap.
I think they just had to kind of like speed it up and be like, yeah, to your point of like, we'll just get him to the plot of this episode.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like it was really well rehearsed, and I don't blame the actors and all that stuff. I just blame probably the speedy production because you know, like this is like, you know, how many years did it take to make Mandalorian season 1? How many years did it take to make Mandalorian season 2? Probably not half the time, quarter of the time.
Yeah.
So they probably like, all right, just get the best stunt people, just do the thing, and they're never going to choreograph it, and they're going to just make it on the way they go. So it's like.
Well, one thing to point out is we never talked about this a lot because we didn't learn about it until after the season was like the way they shot the first season
with the
it's
the
all
TV
in sets
screen.
with those screens behind them and like real time environments or something being projected. Like it's pretty wild. But yeah, I'm sure the first season was a lot of them figuring out some of those things. But yeah, I agree with that. That first scene.
It felt slow. So they could have,
Yeah.
even if they sped it up to 1.25, it might have felt
Even just 101, 101% speed. But anyways,
Some
whatever.
quicker cuts.
How
Right?
many fight scenes have I choreographed? Right. So the next thing is, I was getting a little like Jon Favreau. I fucking get it. You fucking directed it. I fucking get it. Like it's getting like, I like the dude. I respect the dude, but it's like the Whistling Birds just feels too much Iron Man 1. The fucking crate dragon thing just felt so Avengers. And it's like, I get it, guys. It's the same studio. Stop reminding me. You can make the explosion of the compositions a little different. Like
that was Joss Whedon was Avengers.
But Jon Favreau is the executive producer for it because he was there on set. So it's that kind of shit where it's just like, I'm like, I get it, guys. Like, it's a Disney product. I fucking get it. But other than that, like, other small things are things that you guys might have mentioned, but those are only things to take away. And honestly, everyone that's listening, if those things don't bother you, then fucking go watch the episode, or hopefully you continue watching it.
I mean,
we're not
I
here to
agree with
deter
all those
people.
things, and yet none of them bothered me enough.
Yeah, they're not here to deter. So those are just things that if you want to take away, you can look at those things with another eye. So
and I mean, like going forward, like I think as far as story expectations, I'm just happy that this show's being made, and like I'm cool with them taking as long as they need to get to like the deeper Mandalorian lore.
I'm not.
I'm sure we'll get there. And it's gonna be be sweet.
I'm not. Take your time to get to the sweet Mandalorian. It's like, no, fucking, it's called the Mandalorian.
No, I don't think they're going to. I mean, with the introduction of Boba Fett is very exciting for a lot of reasons.
Yes, to me, it's like either get into Din Djarin's story or get into the Mandalorian story. Don't pussyfoot it into one or the other. Like, you have a really good opportunity right now to do an independent story that doesn't have to shake hands with everyone else. Or you start fucking shaking your hands soon.
Fett
I think that's the compelling thing.
Jin team up is on my mind.
I think if they'd be cool if they two teamed up against Moff Gideon. And then one of them,
I think it's interesting.
Boba becomes a new Mandalore.
I mean, it's rife for the sort of the drama, right? I mean, Boba Fett isn't a real Mandalorian, right?
Yeah,
and he has encountered these wizards,
and I think,
that we hear of.
And since they mention it in the episode where there's a little bit of like the Empire, when the Empire fell, things changed. But I since Boba Fett isn't a Mandalorian, it'd be a great redemption arc for him, where he can actually be good too. He's on the mission to find the rest of the Mandalorians and have those secret, what are they called, convents. And he gets a fucking sigil, and it's that
would be amazing.
Like, and the Mandalorian that we follow is like the hero spirit Mandalorian, where like he doesn't really go for the fame and he's not here for the establishment, but he does follow the way. And he's kind of like the intergalactic missionary of Mandalorians, where Boba Fett is like the prodigal child who comes back, and he's like, again, I would like it if he took the Darksaber and he becomes the Mandalorian, because whoever has
I'm gonna blow your mind.
Huh?
I'm gonna blow your mind. The show title.
Can you stop touching your mic? You're fucking up the audio.
Am I? Sorry. The show title does not refer to the Mandalorian we think of. It's actually referring to Boba Fett. Gotcha.
No.
Wow, I want to blow up my mind because I want to forget that shit. But I like that you're thinking. Other than that, is there anything else that we want to go over that's like things before we wrap up the episode?
I don't think so. I think that, the idea that Boba Fett was in season 1 is very exciting. The reveal and the fact that they're using the original actor from the prequels is also very, very exciting as well. I'm a huge fan of him. Shout out to Aquaman. I think he's fantastic in all he does. Looking forward to it. If you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic, go find that Crate Dragon.
I might start. I legit might start now. Is it on PC? Is it on PC?
It's on PC, baby.
It's on everything.
It's on Steam. Super cheap.
It's on mobile.
Corey.
It's single player, but if you do it.
Get your nerd on. Okay.
Oh, also, I really liked seeing the sort of the behind the scenes of like what happened right after the Death Star blew up and the power vacuum and all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Now we're getting into some like the politics that I care about.
Yeah.
In this universe.
I don't know. I want to see the market exchange rate for Beskar armor. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But cool.
But no, it's fun. I'm excited for more.
Yes. And we're excited to make some more of these episodes. I'm glad that everyone who listened to season 1 was excited that we're going to be doing another season of this. Again, as long as there's demand.
There was one more Easter egg I had written down.
What?
The bartender.
What?
The bartender is
same guy.
played by an actor, W. Earl Brown, who's best known for playing Dan Doherty on Deadwood.
Oh, so some Western royalty.
There you go.
Little kind of mini reunion there. So yeah, anyway, that was it. That was the last one I forgot.
But yes, as long as there's demand for these episodes to be made, we will continue making them. Or if The Mandalorian continues to have shows. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they don't fall into the Netflix trap of only 3 seasons. I think this is a series that deserves a full-fledged run, especially if Dave Filoni is involved.
Yeah. Or now new Netflix's new thing of promising another season and then canceling it.
That's David Fincher. So everyone, thank you for listening. Hope you loved the show. Please give us a comment, like, rate, wherever you're listening to this, do so, or just send it to us via, the social media places you can. If you want to check out all the things we do, check out nerdon.tv just nerdon.tv. That's the website. But check out nerdon.tv Patreon.
Whatever your heart desires.
Yes, Patreon, Discord, merch, Comixology, affiliates, all that stuff will probably send you somewhere. But yes, thank you everyone. We hope you are doing well, and we'll talk to you another time soon. But until then, everyone, you know the drill. As always,
Mandalorian.
Nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.